Welcome, my dear student, in our math program for secondary 3. Today we are taking new lesson in static. It's called moment about point in 3 dimensions. My dear student, look about the moment of a force about a point in 3 dimensions. Moment of a force about a point in 3 dimensions coordinate system. We know that the force F, we have 3 components, Fi, Fj, Fk. Act at the point A has 3 coordinates x, y, z, which its position vector with respect to the origin point 0, 0, 0. Position vector, its symbol r vector, x, y, z. Then what about moment of the force F about origin point O? Look at, my dear student, we have the force F act the point A. What about moment of the force F which act at the point A? In, remember, 3 dimensions, we have OX, OY, OG. OX, OY, OZ. What is the I vector? Unit vector in x-axis. Its components 1, 0, 0. G vector, unit vector in y-axis 0, 1, 0. K vector, unit vector in z-axis 0, 0, 1. R vector, position vector of point A, represent OA vector. Then the point A lie on YZ plane. My dear student, the moment about O equals position vector cross F vector. By using determine, we know, my dear student, the determine has the first row ijk, r vector, its component x, y, z, f vector, fi, fj, fk. By using expand the moment, the determine, the force F equals 2I minus j plus 3k. Acts at a point, its coordinate negative 3, 1, 2. Find the moment of the force F about point B, its coordinate 2, 2, negative 1. Remember, my dear student, we have force F has 3 components, 2, negative 1, 3. And this force acts at a point A, negative 3, 1, 2. What is required? Find the moment of the force F about B, point B, 2, 2, negative 1. We must find R vector equals BA vector. Then calculate length of the perpendicular from B to the line of the force F. We know that R vectors equal BA vector equals A minus B. Point A, this rule, minus B, point A minus B. By subtraction, we find A minus B equals to negative 5, negative 1, 3. My dear student, we know that moment about B are vector cross F vector by using determine. Negative 5, negative 1, 3, these coordinates of our vector. F vector to negative 1, 3 component of the force F. Remember, my dear student, R cross F not equals F cross R. It's very important notes or very important remark. If we find moment about B equals R vector cross F vector, but not equals F cross R. It's wrong. The correct answer R cross F. By using determine, we put IJK first row, second row, negative 5, negative 1, 3. This component of our vector, the third row component of the F vector 2, negative 1, 3. In direction I, in direction J, in direction K. Remember, the sign of the first row positive, negative, positive. I positive, J negative, K positive. Then we deduce that the answer 21 J plus 7K. We know length of perpendicular equals norm of moment over norm of F. What is the norm of moment? Moment equals 21 G plus 7K. Algebraic moment square root 21 for all power 2 plus 7 power 2. Also, my dear student, the norm F square root 2 power 2 plus 1 power 2 plus 3 power 2 its coordinates of the force F equals what? Square root 35. This length unit. Remember, my dear student, the length of perpendicular equals norm of moment equals over norm of the force. Find the moment of the force F about origin point where the force F negative 2I plus 3J plus 5K acts at a point A. Its position vector with respect to the origin is R equals I plus J plus K or 1, 1, 1. Then find the length of perpendicular from the origin point to the line of the force F. We know that, my dear student, the moment about O equals R vector cross F vector by using R vector IJK 1, 1, 1. It's a component of R vector components 1, 1, 1. And components of the force F negative 2, 3, 5. By using also determined, we put IJK the first row, second row, components of R1, 1, 1, component of the force F negative 2, 3, 5. Answer is 5 minus 3 in direction I, 5 plus 2 in direction J, 3 plus 2 in direction K. Don't forget, my dear student, the sign of I positive, sign of J negative, sign of K positive. Answer is 2I minus 7J plus 5K. We know that, my dear student, the length of perpendicular equals what? Norm of moment over norm F. Equals square root component of the moment 4 plus 49 plus 25 under square root over norm F 4 plus 9 plus 25. Answer is square root 741 over 19 length unit. My dear student, now we are translate to another title. It's very important title. It's called the coordinates components of the moment of a force about point. Coordinates components of the moment of the force about a point. Let my dear student the force F Fx in direction I plus Fy in direction J plus Fz in direction K. We can resolve any force about 3 dimensions. In direction X, Fx. In direction Y, Fy. In direction Z, Fz. Also, we know that our vector, its component X, Y, Z. Then, you know that, my dear student, when we find the moment R cross F, IJK, first row, second row, XYZ, second row, Fx, Fy, Fz. Remember, my dear student, what you mean Fx? Component of the force in x-axis. What is the component of the force in y-axis? Fy. What is the component of the force about z-axis? Fz. We deduce that component Fx has no moment about x-axis where it's parallel to it. Also, component Fy has moment about x-axis equals negative kx Fy. Component Fz has moment about x-axis equals gx Fz. The moment equals y Fz minus z Fz. Y Fz, z Fy. Remember, y Fz minus z Fy. Direction yk. Example. If the force F, its components ki plus 4j minus k, acts at a point A, whose its position vector respect to the original is our vector 1, 2, 2. Remember, my dear student, we have force ki plus 4j minus k acts at a point A, whose its position vector are vector 1, 2, 2. It is required. Component of the moment of the force about y-axis is 7 moment unit. Then, length of perpendicular from the origin point to the line of the F. Find the value of k. We know that component of the force k, F, k for negative 1, are vector 1, 2, 2. Then moments component about y. Remember, my dear student, moments component, we have 3 moments component. About y, this rule, z fx minus x fz. Fx is k, Fy 4, Fz negative 1, xyz component of our vector 1 to 2 by substitution about zfx minus xfz equals 2k minus 1 times negative 1. This from given equals 7. Then to find the value of k equal 3. Then we deduce that the moment IGK 1, 2, 2, K equals 3, 4, negative 1, negative 10I plus 7J, negative 7K. Length of perpendicular, we use the rule norm of moment over norm F. Square root 100 plus 49 plus 4 over square root 9 plus 16 plus 1 equals 3 square root 442 over 26 length unit. This length of perpendicular. My dear student, look at in the opposite figure. We have F1 6 root 13 and F2 square root 61 Newton. We have two forces, F1 and F2, in the opposite direction. F1 acts at AB, F2 acts at AC. In the opposite figure, what is the required? Find the sum of moments of the force about the origin O. Remember, the origin point O, intersection of OX, OY, OZ. Number B, find the moment of resultant about O. From the geometric of the figure, we know that point A. What about point A? Lie on Z axis. Then, from the figure, we deduce component of A 0, 0, 6. OA equals 6 meter. This point A. What about point B? Lie on Y axis, has 4 units from Y axis, but 0, 0 in X and Z axis. Coordinate of B 0, 4, 0. Also coordinate of C 4, negative 3, 0. Look at the point C. Lie on, yes, Z axis. Then, my dear student, AB vector, we know B minus A equals 0, 4, negative 6. Then, norm of AB, length of AB equals square root 52 equals 2 root 13. We know that F1 vector equals F1 vector cross AB star vector. What do you mean AB star vector? Vector over norm AB vector. F1, we know that F1 equals 6 root 13 from the given times the vector 0, 4, negative 6 over norm the vector. What is the norm of vector? 4 power 2 plus 6, negative 6 power 2. Answer is, my dear student, F1 vector 6 root 13 times vector 0, 4, negative 6 over 2 root 13 equals 0, 12, negative 18 by using F1 equals 3AB. Then we find AC vector by the same method, C minus A. C point minus A point. C its coordinate 4, negative 3, 0, but A point 0, 0, 6. Answer is 4, negative 3, negative 6. This is vector AC vector. F2 by the same method equals component F2 vector times AC vector over norm AC. Then from given F2 equal root 61, the vector AC for -3, -6, norm AC 16, 4 power 2, plus 9, -3 power 2, plus 36, -6 power 2. Then answer is 4, -3, -6. Moment F1 about O, origin point OA cross F1. What is the OA? Is position vector of A, 0, 0, 6, cross component of F1, 0, 12, -18. By using determine first row IJK, second row 0, 0, 6, third row 0, 12, -18. Then answer is -72I. This is moment F1 about O. Moment F2 about the same origin point O equals OA vector cross F2. What is the OA 006? What is the component F2 by or from the previous result? We find F2 by using F2 multiply F2 vector over component of F2 equal 4, -3, -6 by using determine, my dear student, IJK first row, second row components of our vector, third row component of a fourth vector equals -6 multiply -3I -4j equals -18 equals 18I plus 24j. Some moment about the origin O equal -72I plus 18j plus 18I plus 24j. We add summation like terms -72I plus 18I equal -54I plus 24j. Some moment or sum of moments about the origin O. Resultant, the force F, summation F1 plus F2. We add components of F1 and components of F2 to find the resultant, the force 0 plus 4, 12 plus -3, -18 plus -6. Answer is 4, 9, -24. The resultant of the force act also at point A. Moment resultant equals OA cross F 006 cross 4, 9, -24 by using determinant also. The first row IJK, second row component of our vector 006, sum of force 4, 9, -24. Answer is -6 times 9I -4j equals -54I plus 24G. My dear student, by the end of the lesson, we know that the moment about the point equals R vector cross F vector. We know that in 3 dimensions, we have position vector has 3 components, and the force F also has 3 components. By using determinant, we put component of the R vector in second row, component of the force vector in third row. don't forget, my dear student, R vector cross F vector not equals F vector times or cross R vector. The first row IGK. By using determinant, we find the moment about the origin point. We know that, my dear student, moment may be equals 0, may be equals positive, may be equals negative. When the moment is positive, its direction equals what? In opposite direction of clockwise. Anti-clockwise is positive, clockwise is negative. Also, my dear student, the moment about 3 dimensions has positive or negative, positive in clockwise or anti-clockwise, excellent, anti-clockwise. In about origin point, if we have two forces, the moment about the origin point of the two forces, sum of moment equals sum of resultant of the two forces about the same origin point. We know that also, my dear student, length of perpendicular equals norm of the force, norm of the moment over the norm of the force. Don't forget, L equals M over F. My dear student, if we find the length of moment perpendicular, what is the length of moment perpendicular from the point to the force or action of the force F, L equals M over F. What is the M? The algebraic measure of moment. What is the F? Is algebraic or absolute of the force F. Remember, my dear student, in this lesson we have position vector and the force F in 3 dimensions. Don't forget, the force F has 3 coordinates: Fx, Fy, Fz. Also, position vector are x, y, z. What is the component of moments about x-axis, x incident, y, Fz, minus z, Fy? What is the component of moments about z, x incident? X, Fy minus y, Fx. This is very important lesson, unit 1, about moment in 2 dimensions and moment of 3 dimensions. Is very important unit. By the end of the lesson, my dear student, I am very happy to spend such time with you. Thank you. Goodbye.